Hello. Sorry for the delay. Gonna wait a few minutes just to see who kind of pops in. So are you feeling the shift? Many of us have. And I apologize for the delay today. We just finished our last morning of mindfulness here at the park. And how are you managing the shift? So, a lot of changes in the air. As I'm sitting here earlier, we were talking about this tree. And I'll kind of show you this tree real quick. And we were here just connecting in nature and being mindful. A lot of magic here. So I want to ask you, how are you managing the shift? How are you managing it all? Do you know if you or somebody close has been chronically ill? So much so that the medical community doesn't even know how to explain it or how to help your loved one or you? Have you had a sudden unexpected change, such as an ending of a relationship or something with your job, illness or death, or in my case, a car? And I want to ask you, I'm going to flip the screen here. Are you listening? What I mean by listening, I mean we are so busy in our world with just doing. As I said earlier, we just finished a morning of mindfulness, the last one for the season, and our society is so about go, 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 and martyr everything for the sake of work. And we don't take time out for ourselves, and I mean really for ourselves. So I want you to ask yourself, I'd love you to join in the conversation, is, are you listening? And I mean divinely listening. Take this tree, for instance. This tree has a lot to say. But are we listening? Or are we so busy being busy and distracted that we sometimes will say we have no time? But do we? This tree, for instance, gives us a lot of knowledge and ancient wisdom. One of the things we talked about today was the root system here and how the roots here are badly scarred and also very protective of the base of this tree. Kind of like a mother bear protecting her cub. So have you increased your self-care? Have you addressed even the shadow self in a loving, compassionate way? Many of us have been experiencing that over the last month or so. We need to look in the mirror. We need to look in the mirror and see not only all the beautiful things that are within us, but all the things that we don't like. When we can embrace those dark sides, whether through forgiveness, self-love, those shadow sides, then we can create change. And we can move forward. That's what a lot of this energy shifting is about. One of the other questions I want to ask you, with all these shifts that have been happening, have you stayed present and mindful throughout the entire process? Or have you let whatever happens take over? Have you let your emotions kind of take over and run things? Have you let your thoughts kind of take over instead of just staying present? One of the things we talked about today and experienced today was letting nature guide us and be the tool. Are we letting our emotions and thoughts distort our reality? And I want you to really think about that. I would love your thoughts on that, actually. Are you letting your thoughts and emotions distort your reality? How many of you have been experiencing what we call symptoms of a spiritual cleanse or shift? How's your sleep been? Appetite? Have you had bouts of energy surges or bouts of fatigue? What about lower back pain? Have you had any pelvic, groin, intestinal, kidney? What about adrenal fatigue? How many of you are aware about the adrenal fatigue? What about headaches? And if you have any current health issues, serious health issues, whether it's cardiovascular, diabetes, PTSD, have you noted an exacerbation of those symptoms? Whether it's anxiety or all of a sudden you got extremely ill. One of the things that I have been feeling, and when I decided to post this, ironically, I kind of forgot that it was Mercury going direct today, so go figure on that one. I know Saturn went direct recently, which dealt with a lot of our karma issues. In Buddhist teachings, the belief system is one of the reasons why we talk about mindfulness is about to stay present. That's because, one, when we look at what's been happening in the cosmic shifting and all the chaos that's happening across the world right now, the past, present, and future are merging. There is no timeline. They're all one. They're now. They're merging. The past, that also includes your karmic ties, past lives. It includes stuff in this life, things that may have happened to you in the past in this life. But it can also mean generational. Everything is merging. Some of you who have heard me speak before may have heard me use the analogy of a three-legged stool. So when I talk about the three-legged stool, I identify it as the whole self. So if you're working on cleansing or healing, and you're only addressing, say, going to the doctor for this issue and that issue, and you're only addressing one of the three legs, which I'll explain what they are, and how can you possibly fully heal without addressing all three? So just like if one leg out of the three legs was broken, you can't possibly sit on it. So if one leg represents the physical self, the second leg represents the mental, emotional, and psychological self, and the third leg represents the spiritual self. So whenever we're in a crisis, we have to kind of look at all three legs of that stool. And as Abraham Hicks talks about a lot, we need to be in vibrational alignment with all three. Because when you're in vibrational alignment, that's where the magic begins. But if we're only addressing one or two of those legs of that stool, the stool can't possibly stand on its own, which means that we can't possibly heal or move forward in our life. So how do we support ourselves when we go through all these changes, right? We have a big change. Like I said, when I decided to post this, I was going to do this 3 weeks ago, and I don't know, just maybe life got in the way, or maybe timing, and then when I decided to do it today, I didn't realize, like I said before, Mercury went direct today, and I kind of chuckled when I realized that. It's amazing how the universe works, right? You know? So how do we support ourselves going through these changes? If you're feeling exhausted and tired, get your rest. That's when the body rejuvenates. That's when it heals. That's when we're at rest. We are a society that if we sleep too much, we're lazy. That's a load of crock. There's been plenty of studies that show that if you take an afternoon nap for 15-20 minutes in the afternoon, you're actually more productive. Learn to trust, and I know this was a big one for me because of maybe some of the decisions I have made in the past. Most specifically, somebody that I decided to marry that abused me, which was very hard. And somebody that is an empath and practices many spiritual-based practices, to learn to trust again. You have to learn to trust. If you can't trust yourself, then trust in the divine. When I was struggling with trusting with myself, at least I knew I could go up. And they always had my back, no matter what. And it got me through some pretty hard times. Another thing you need to do as you go through this is you need to talk and partner with your soul. And not only with your soul, but you need to talk and partner with the inner child within. You know, we're too busy texting, we're too busy Facebooking. Yes, we're on Facebook. But when do we take time out for ourselves and, you know, have a little conversation? You know, in my case, with that little girl inside, and say, hey, you know, how you doing today? What would you like to do? How are you feeling? What are your goals and dreams? Let her speak to you, or him, in your case. Some of the other things to do include drinking plenty of water, but especially make sure what kind of water you are drinking. A lot of bottled water is actually toxic, so you might want to consider drinking some alkaline water, which will help raise your pH and normalize your system out. And I know a lot of us don't want to hear, but Yes, diet. We eat a lot of processed foods, a lot of fast foods in our country. And we need to go back to more leafy greens, organic, earthy, more sustainable food systems. So, what can I help you with today? What would you like to see? What would you like to see? What are you struggling with? How can I be of support to you? I know we have a few classes coming up that might be a benefit to you. Next week we begin the self-care for the empath. So for those of you who are finding the energies very sensitive, or that you're sensitive when you are around certain individuals, or that you're struggling, it might be a class for you. It is a class that I decided to expand, and it used to be a 4-hour class, and I felt like the universe was nudging me to make it more of a 4-week class. So instead of 4 hours, it's 10 hours, where every week we are working on something different to bring more self-care, more empowerment back into our lives, and learn to identify boundaries and how to do that. So it's a very transformational workshop. We don't just address the spiritual needs, but we also address, as I said before, the 3-legged stool. It's not just the spiritual, it's also the physical, mental, emotional. So we'll be addressing all 3. So if you're interested, feel free to join us. Also, we have a couple of Jikun and Reiki certification classes coming up in Hingham. And those of you who are interested in learning traditional Japanese Reiki systems, I encourage you to maybe consider this. It's a very deep practice. It's non-Westernized. Japanese culture is very strong and rooted in Buddhist and Shinto belief systems. Not to say that Reiki is that, but to understand Reiki, you kind of have to also understand those. And it's more than just hands-on healing. So the Japanese Jikun and Reiki will help you with cleaning out maybe some blocks in your cores, and tap you more direct to the divine. And it gives you the tools to practice this on a daily basis, more than just as a hands-on therapy. We also do a monthly Reiki vibrational healing meditation, which is held monthly in our office in Hingham. And we have about 10 Tibetan bowls that we use. And I hope you can join us. It's another transformational class. We also have an event coming up November 1st, which you can, again, get all these events on the Facebook events feed, or also my website, which is www.laurahealingwithspirit.com. But November 1st, we'll be doing a free seminar, and I would encourage you to please share that. It's on healing trauma through spiritually based practices, that will be held at the Hingham Library, where I'll be not only sharing my journey, but also bringing in statistics and medical backup to shed the light on trauma and on how to do that, really. Okay. And at the end of the month, I'll also be at Shantishala for their fall festivals. So I'll be available for private readings. And I'm also available for private sessions, whether virtual or in our office in Hingham. So, but I would love to hear from you as far as how are you dealing with these shifts. I mean, I gave you some tips today and what we did. As you can hear the tree behind me, I'm hoping you can hear the tree behind me. This tree has a lot to say, and please keep an eye out for some writing I've been doing regarding actually this tree and what this tree has said to me. And but it has a lot to say, and I'm going to probably finalize this with this tree. but I would love to hear from you. Here, this tree brings life, but it's also been through a lot. It's got battle wounds, scars, and as I said earlier in the cat podcast, these root systems actually are wrapped tightly around the base, protecting it, strengthening its foundation. Yet it's scarred, it's been brutalized, but yet it's thrived. It not only survived, but it thrived. Has a lot to say. What did trees say to you? Do you use nature to help ground you, to bring mindfulness back into your life? What practices do you use? I would love to hear from you. Please share. I hope I gave you some tips for the day. And once again, I apologize for logging on late. Our final mindfulness session at the park today kind of went over time. So it's very easy to lose track of time when we do these. So I hope you find some magic in today. I hope you take care of yourself. Hi, Karen. Nature is absolutely wonderful. Nature is probably my number one go-to. And as you can see, fall is getting ready to set in. The leaves are changing. Which, ironically, when we look at the leaves are changing, Mercury just went direct today. So when it went direct today, what is it teaching us? What are these leaves teaching us? What are the breezes teaching us? Oh, you're quite welcome, Karen. Hi, Michelle. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it today. And I'm happy. Thank you. You're a bright star yourself. Trees have a lot to show us, a lot to share. I hope you enjoyed today. Make sure you nurture you. Make sure you take care of you. And I am just here to help guide you. And I'm hoping you got a lot out of today. And I'm going to be logging off now. Enjoy the magic. Namaste.